reading series devoted to presenting phenomenal work by LGBTQIA writers. We're so grateful that you could all join us tonight. I'm Brad Richard, one of the co-founders and hosts of The Waves.
And I'm Elizabeth Gross, the other co-founder of The Waves. Our series is based in Bulbancha, also known as New Orleans, which has been an important trading place for people, indigenous people, centuries before colonization. Bulbancha is a Choctaw word that means place of many tongues.
We would also like to thank Poets and Writers, Inc. for generous support of this reading. Tubby and Coo's Mid-City Bookshop in New Orleans, who's acting as our vendor, and its owner, Candace Huber, who is gracing us with her technical skills tonight, making this live stream possible. You can order Elizabeth Lindsey Rogers' books and most of Christopher Davis's books through Candace's link, which she has dropped into the chat. Also, you can order Christopher's latest book, Oath, which is an amazing book, directly from Main Street Rag, his publisher, using their link in the chat.
Please support queer literature by buying our writers' books. And The Waves has always been committed to community. We're also excited to present Mariah Moore, co-director of House of Tulip, and an opportunity for you to hear a little bit more about this fantastic organization and donate if you can. Welcome, Mariah.
Hi. Thank you so much, Brad and Elizabeth. So I'm Mariah Moore. My pronouns are she and her. I am co-director and co-founder of House of Tulip, along our other co-founder and co-executive director, Milan Nicole Sherry. House of Tulip is a nonprofit organization based in New Orleans, providing long-term housing solutions for trans and gender nonconforming Louisianians. House of Tulip was founded in June of 2020. And we launched on June 22nd of 2020. Since then, we've been able to secure 2 residential properties, one which we just closed on, and the other which is a rental property through Habitat for Humanity, where we are able to service 10 community members. House of Tulip also has an office space that offers a donation clothing closet. We accept in-kind donations of gently used or new clothing, as well as unopened hygiene products. Our office also has our direct services housed in it, which Wendy Cooper, who is the executive director of Transcending Women, offers our linkage to care. And what that means is if you're in need of navigating any type of help, whether you need therapy or linkage to primary care or educational resources or just help with job search and placement, we offer that as well. We also offer our community financial literacy and life skills courses. And so once we are in a place where we are able to safely convene in person, we will be giving out more information how we can come together again safely and utilize these resources together. Within that, House of Tulip has been able to successfully employ 2 other community members, as well as an array of contractors, all who are a part of our larger TGNC community. And that has all been able to be done because of the help and the contributions of community. So this project and this organization is community funded, and it's led by 2 incredible Black trans women from New Orleans who have faced tremendous obstacles and barriers. And when we first started this organization, what we said to each other is anything is possible, right? And you see that nothing is impossible, but anything is possible. So I just want to thank everyone who has contributed to House of Tulip, who shares the mission and the vision that we do for and towards liberation. And I know that the way that we're going to get free is to continue to keep our people housed and fed, zero barrier. And so I want to explain just a little bit about what zero barrier means before I hand it back over. So zero barrier means that it is practically, there are no barriers or no restrictions that would not allow you to enter our programming, right? Whether you're navigating substance abuse, whether you're exiting the prison industrial complex, whether you're, whether you have an animal, right? All of these different things, your disability, or your ableism, a lot of these organizations, they're not able to, or they don't serve people who are differently abled. And that creates a huge barrier. And so we knew that that was something that we really had to confront as a new organization that was going to be servicing our people. And so I'm just so excited to continue to grow and to continue to meet amazing folks like you all here, and just larger community that has just really been incredible with creating such a momentum that we could have never imagined. So thank you so much.
Oh, Mariah, you are so welcome. Thank you. I'm so glad you could be here tonight. And I'm so glad that we can do a little bit to help spread the word and get you some more community support. You are amazing. Yes, and I hope that everyone who is able to tonight can show a little love to House of Tulip by giving them a little donation. It is now my honor to introduce our first reader of the evening. Tia Clark's fiction has appeared or is forthcoming in Joyland, The Offing, the Kenyon Review, American Short Fiction, and elsewhere. They have received fellowships and support from the Wisconsin Institute for Creative Writing, Indiana University, the Landa Literary Foundation, and elsewhere. They write and teach in New Orleans. And I just want to add that Elizabeth Gross and I are thrilled to finally be presenting Tia, because we scheduled 2 different readings for Tia in the spring, the second of which, of course, was canceled by COVID. So please welcome Tia Clark.
Hi everyone. Thank you for having me, Brad and Elizabeth. Thank you for everyone who is watching. I am going to read a story that is available online, and I've been having some technical difficulties, so if I get kicked off, just read it online. It's on joylandmagazine.com. This story is called All This Want and I Can't Get None. And there's a train. There's cereal at my mom's, but the milk is expired, and I'm already late for school, so I don't have time to scramble eggs, which we don't have, or mix Bisquick, which we also don't have, so I'm hungry as hell. If I didn't sleep through 2 alarms, I would have stopped by the bodega for a butter roll and a sun-kissed and been on my merry way down 5th Avenue to the bus stop. But I got nothing but a growling stomach and a few sips from the water fountain outside Miss Carter's class, which I ran to, by the way, completely avoiding the ISS room altogether. In elementary school, I used to always be jealous of white kids with moms who put lunch in a bag with their name on it. My mom never had time for that. She's a social butterfly and a single mom, and not very nice at all. That's why when she found out I was hanging around Tevin's place with some of the kids from school, she was like, at least he got food there, and didn't say another word about it. Plus, I'm 13 now, which to her might as well be a grown-ass woman. But Tevin is mad at me, and therefore I'm not eating up all his food like usual, so I'm just here, hungry, wondering why they don't start school at a reasonable time so a bitch like me can get a snack. It's not even 9 o'clock, and they think we're supposed to be alive, awake, alert, enthusiastic, but I'm like dead, asleep, hungry, pissed the hell off. Pick up your head, Deja, Miss Carter says, because my head's down on the desk and she's a shrew. I pick it up slow, rolling my eyes. I almost say, for what? But if I get in trouble, I'll get ISS. It's dumb though, because it's homeroom and all we do is pass notes and text each other while she writes out her lesson plan for the next period. But my head is up now and I see the soccer field outside with the sun blasting on it, and I wish I could just lay out there and eat the grass instead of sitting in this chair at this dumb desk, feeling hungry and tired and stupid. Kay sits in front of me and she turns around to pass me a Gushers like she can read my mind. When we're at Tevin's, he orders us pizza, Chinese, anything you could think of, and his fridge is stocked with sandwich meat, frozen dinners, Coke, Sprite, everything. Dessert. He has a PlayStation and gets new games like every week, and we all take turns playing, but whenever I want to play, he makes them let me. I'm kind of a brat about it, honestly, but he doesn't seem to mind. Everyone knows I'm Tevin's best friend of all the kids from school, so they just have to deal with it. I knew Tevin as security at school and from the ISS room, of course, but we really met when I was the only person in there one day, and he just talked to me like I was a regular person, not a delinquent or a dumb kid. I told him about my mom and how she gets mad and how she don't notice or care if I'm sad, happy, hungry. Later that week, he gave me a ride home after school and took me to Stop and Shop, and we got a bunch of Swanson dinners and some frozen vegetables and a bottle of Coke. Share it with your mom, he said in front of the apartment. Then we hugged, and I tried hard not to cry. I didn't want him to think I was sad when I was actually happier than I'd been in probably years. I don't care about earth science, and neither does Mr. Plummer, so we're watching October Sky again. I could probably recite this shit by heart. Kay slips me a note when she could have just whispered, but whatever. Do you want to go to Tevin's after lunch? It says. School is trash, and I would love to leave, but getting in trouble means ISS with Tevin, and I don't want to be stuck in there with him right now. Plus, he said it's best if I don't go back to his house for a while. I don't have time or energy to explain all this to Kay, so I just whisper, for what? I can't explain right now, she writes back. Tevin gave me a key to his apartment for emergencies, not for me and Kay to play Madden and eat Doritos. I could definitely use some Doritos, though, and some pizza or a sandwich. We could probably be really careful with our mess and make it back in time for English, and nobody would even know. I gotta make it back for 6, I whisper. Ladies, Mr. Plummer shouts, louder than the TV. I'm sure you two don't want to get in-school suspensions. In a different world, I yell, that's exactly what the fuck I'm saying. In this world, I keep my mouth shut. We're making a cake in Home and Careers today. Well, not actually. We're watching a cooking show where somebody else makes a cake. I can't wait to have a baby, so I can make her a cake like this for her birthday. And I'll make her eggs for breakfast, a turkey sandwich for lunch, whatever she wants for dinner. I'll name her Riley. I like this class, even though it's bootleg, because it teaches me stuff my mom never learned. My mom is always too busy to listen to my problems, or she doesn't care, or she's too mad to get where I'm coming from. At least it's not like it used to be when I was littler and she would beat my ass. She used to hit me with whatever was lying around. She threw punches. She kicked. Now she's just quick to pop me on the back of the head or slap me in my face here and there. I don't fight her back, even though I do know how to fight at this point. I'm not sure what I'm waiting for. I've beaten an ass or two after school, but I feel like when I finally fight my mom, something's going to change. If she wins, it's a wrap for me. I want to be a mom really bad. I know girls who get pregnant young, and I feel jealous of what's coming for them. They get something warm and heavy on their chest at night, someone waiting up for them, someone who can give them everything they need. If that was me, I'd drop out of school and get my GED, work all day and night for my baby, struggle, never hit her. When Tevin found out what my mom was really like, he started letting me sleep on his couch. We'd stay up late eating popcorn and watching TV until I fell asleep, and I'd wake up to him touching me on my shoulder, telling me it's time to get ready for school. He'd make me bacon sometimes, and pancakes too, and he sometimes used to give me $5 so I could get a premium lunch, which includes a 20-ounce Fruitopia. After a couple times of sleeping over, he said I should bring some clothes to his house. I keep some stuff in his hall closet, in a cubby he cleared just for me. There go Dante, Kay says, pointing across the bleachers in gym. There do go Dante. Me and Dante are not friends anymore. He told everybody we were hooking up, and we were, but he didn't ask me if he could tell everybody. And now the whole school thinks I'm some kind of dick-sucking knob goblin. And boys who never even talked to me before blow kisses at me from across the room and laugh with their friends like my whole shit is some big joke. The day when I found out he told, I walked strategically past ISS crying, and when Tevin saw me, he left the room and walked with me over to the stairwell by the courtyard nobody used. He hugged me like a baby and told me to be very careful who I give my gifts to. High school boys aren't going to respect you, he promised. We sat on the steps till I was done crying. He said he understood my hormones are going crazy. Of course they are. He laughed and said his do too, still, even at his age. It's a part of growing up that never goes away. But there's a lot attached to it. So wait, or do it with someone you're sure got love for you. I told him me and Dante didn't really do it, and he looked relieved and said good. The next day, he pulled me out of Home and Careers, which security does all the time because the intercom systems don't work, so they got to escort kids to the office or bring them messages and stuff. We went to the stairwell, and he gave me a plain cardboard box with a little bow on it. My birthday wasn't for 3 months, and it was nowhere near Christmas. It's not like people give me gifts left and right, so I was shocked. Open it, he said. He was basically whispering, even though we were alone. Inside the box, it was a small pink rod the size of a tampon. "What is it?" I asked like a dummy. "It's for you," he said. "It's a little toy. It's to hold you over until you find a boy that deserves you, one that treats you good." Tevin did a lot of things I knew I was supposed to keep secret. Chilling at his house, going to the stairwell to snack instead of saying in class. This time he said it out loud. "Don't tell anybody." So I didn't, not even Kay. I'd always known I could make myself come with my pillows in my hands, but never so quickly as I could with Tevin's gift. My new toy fit in my pocket like it could have been a chapstick. That night, I used it over and over and over until I fell asleep. At school the next day, I went into the one-person stall and put it on my spot and covered my mouth with my other hand, then went back to history like nothing even happened. I thought the vibrator was a secret for me, a thing I could keep to myself. But Tevin asked about it a few days later when it was just the two of us at his apartment. Excuse me. We were playing Soul Blade and he beat me, but I didn't care. I was thinking about coming. He said, "You seem happier lately." I said, "Maybe I am." He put his controller down. "So how are things going with Dante Simmons?" I fixed my mouth to answer, but he didn't wait. "That boy does not deserve you, and I hope you never forget that." I didn't care about Dante. When we hooked up, he didn't even touch me really, besides the back of my head when he pushed it down into his lap. "It's fine," I said. "I'm not really thinking about him much anymore. That kid is a piece of shit. He's going to have a hard time out in the world with that nasty attitude and those dusty-ass shoes." It felt good to hear Tevin talk shit about Dante. Tevin saw all the kids in the school for who they really were. I wondered if that was the difference between men and boys. I bet he didn't even make you feel good. High school boys got no idea what they're doing. You're right about that. He said, "By the way, if you ever want to use your toy here, you can." I must have looked shocked. I mean, I was a little shocked because suddenly he put up his hands in defense. "I'm sorry, Deja. I'm not trying to make you uncomfortable." I don't know why I thought he'd never bring it up again, but I felt embarrassed. Before I had to talk about it, I felt on top of the world, like a real woman. Now, all I could think about was how much time I'd spent with it at home, how hard it was to focus on anything else, how I had it in my pocket as we talked. "Do you like it?" He sounded nervous too. "I do," I said. I didn't want him to feel bad. He breathed heavy. "That's a relief." He looked at the TV but didn't touch the controller. "Do it have it on you now?" "Do you have it on you now?" "No," I lied. "That's okay. I'm glad you like it," he said, smiling, looking at me now. "When you're 18, I'll show you something even better." That's when I got so pissed I wanted to throw my controller across the room. I was tired of feeling underestimated, of people treating me like I was some kid. Excuse me. When meanwhile, my mom didn't give me the time of day, so I was basically on my own in that way. And I also felt like, okay, if I'm a kid, then how am I making myself feel so good all the time? If I was a kid, why did he give me a vibrator in the first place? You think I can't handle it now? I didn't mean that I wanted Tevin to try something, I don't think. I just meant I was tired of people telling me what I am and what I'm not. I know you can handle anything. You're the strongest girl I know. I'm just saying maybe it's not worth risking our friendship. I want to grab my shit and go, but I had nowhere better to go and barely any shit, so I sat there. "My bad," he said. "How about this? Why don't I just show you a little something? I don't know if you're ready, but I can try?" I didn't respond. "What if I just show you something with my mouth?" I didn't know what to say. I didn't say no. He stared at me though, and I just kept sitting there looking at him. Couldn't even tell you what I was thinking, but he leaned over and I thought he was going to kiss my mouth, but instead he kissed me on my neck. No one had ever done that to me before, and I wanted it to feel good, but it felt bad, actually. I leaned away from his mouth like I was going to fall over on my side and scooted over to the other end of the couch. "Okay," he said, "that's fine. I didn't think you thought about me like that anyway." Truth is, I do think about Tevin like that, but only when I watch movies where the best friends fall in love at the end. I don't want to kiss him now, but in a few years, I might. I think he has the traits of a good father. Great with kids, cares about people, has a job. I can see myself in my early 20s falling in love with him after I have some other relationships that don't go well. Maybe we'll kiss in the rain or something, or he'll run through an airport to stop me from flying off to college. Maybe he's right about when I'm 18, but that was over a week ago, and now he's not talking to me at all. I should have just let him keep going and given it a chance instead of getting mad. He's had enough of me now. He didn't take my key back or anything yet, but I haven't been over since. I wonder if anything's changed, even though, of course, it has. And I'll stop there. Thank you.
Thank you, Tia. I'm so glad we were finally able to present you at the Waves and hear some of your work. Until Brad just mentioned it, I had forgotten that previous reading was postponed twice last year, which made me remember this other detail about it. We were originally going to have Tia read in partnership with another reading series, The Open Floor, that got postponed initially because the venue was replacing its floor. I had completely yeah, so glad. I now have the pleasure of introducing Elizabeth Lindsey Rogers. She is the author of 2 poetry collections, The Tilt Torn Away from the Seasons, from Acre Books from 2020, and also a Rumpus Book Club pick, and Chord Box, University of Arkansas Press from 2013. She's a finalist for the Lambda Literary Award, and her poems appear in the Boston Review, Missouri Review, Belwot Poetry Journal, Field, Crazy Horse, Shenandoah, Bennington Review, and elsewhere. Her creative nonfiction can be found in Best American Non-Required Reading, the Best American Travel Writing, the Missouri Review, Prairie Schooner, the Rumpus, and other journals. A former Kenyon Review Fellow, she has taught at a number of colleges and universities, including at Hendrix College, where she was the Murphy Visiting Fellow in English, and she's currently teaching at American University and lives in Washington, D.C. Welcome, Elizabeth Lindsey Rogers.
Oh, thank you so much. It's so exciting to be here. Thanks to everybody who worked to make this happen, and thank you to Tia and Christopher for sharing this reading with me. So I'm going to read mostly poems from my book that came out in 2020, but I wanted to start with a newer poem. This poem just came out in the new issue of the Bennington Review, which is fabulous. And it's sort of a poem about parenthood and how terrifying it is. It's just something I've been thinking about a lot in my writing since my last book. The beginning of the poem references Jessica McClure, she's the girl who fell down the well in the 80s in Texas. So some of you may know that story. The poem's called Gravita. The girl at the bottom of the well hums the bear song hour on hour to tell the town she is still alive. The shaft walls, the chilled stone of a medieval cathedral. Above her, a light in the door, the spy hole where faces of minor saints revolve. Already everyone betrays her. I have been here before, she tells herself, her mind drawing out its spiral of rope, hands ducking in and out of vapor. Once her body was anonymous, no more than an envelope of fog. Ghost, I say, when your hemispheres touch the monitor's dark. Shouldn't it move, I ask, knowing what wish sinks through the answer. And just now, you raise both arms, there, one bent back as if tolling an invisible bell. The only thing we know of you is sound, a Doppler of limbs, the waters surrounding you in low, windless chimes that shush as you turn suddenly toward us, erase your spine's precarious rungs. Oh, this is how you will enter your own myth, in reverse, ladderless. How we wish you wouldn't remember this. Either way, we are responsible. I'm going to read several poems from my book, The Tilt Torn Away from the Seasons, which came out in 2020, right at the beginning of the pandemic. And it's a dystopian book about the fallout of climate change. And most of the poems are taking place on a kind of colonized Mars in the future. And Mars becomes this space where the mistakes of Western history kind of get rehearsed and replayed over and over again. And so really the book is not about Mars at all, and it's more about colonialism and how it's an apocalyptic force. The first poem in the book I'm going to read for you. In 2012, NASA released the first panoramic photos of the surface of Mars. And I became really fascinated with these images. I kept looking at them and thinking about the ways in which the landscape resembled the American West before it was colonized. And that's kind of the seed of this poem and of the whole book, really. It's called The Frontier. And all those years we'd pictured fire, a neon sign blinking, vacancy, a world as red as that inside our bodies, but without the claustrophobia, the low ceilings of our skin. We didn't think of a sky azure only at sunset, or stones a similar blue scattered across the regolith. Now we know this pair of weary moons, the first one painfully slow, a pinprick taking 3 days to move across our vision. The second, Phobos, is the Western origin of fear, misshapen, mold gray. Every 4 hours it rises like the last potato of the famine. And by now I know, as you must, what it means to lose your lakes and oceans, to creak inside the riverbed, cross its sockets and arthritic elbows, to think of rain as a form, a tome of bygone remedies. I can only dream of what snow must do for the desert. The camera pans this world, like earth pocked by canyons. Like liberty, the surface looks aged, a green patina. Over dune and dust, the rover's tracks are the only disturbance. Like a sidewinder or wagon ruts, the trail circles and circles itself again. Again, the ground-made target practice. We come in peace, curiosity says, but that's how all our ships began. As I land, I weigh next to nothing. I leap 3 times as high. But there is no canopy, no timber for an axe. Apple seeds float. There won't be saplings next year, though spring goes twice as long. Imagine a Western set, a terrain of glare and scour. The unspoken agoraphobia drives us all into the saloon. The sheriff, the unshaven rogue, the virgin in blue gingham, the Indian and the hourglass whore. Horses are dead, whiskey still brown, but a grit in our throats. The first shot sounds in air this thin, muted as a powder puff. On cue, we turn. Picture how slowly the shutter swings, doors float open. This next poem takes the form of an application form. It's meant to be an application form for people who want to go to Mars, to live there. And I borrowed some questions and some language from standardized test in making this poem. Red Planet application. When did you become interested in space? As a baby inside bathwater, soap skidding across the surface. The prisms burst, their remnants taking the form of oil. As a teenager, I lit a match in hydrogen's mouth and listened for the pop. What skills or qualities do you have that may aid the colony? I am naturally calibrated in zeros and ones. I was born with this base 2 ability. I can spot your wedding ring no matter how lost it is in a yard. I also read bass clef. I play the cello. What experiences do you have with cultures other than your own? Despite popular belief, I don't believe China's Great Wall is visible from space. I have shared bunks with many strangers. Cotton ceilings shift above me. Any allergies, intolerances to heat, altitude, or cold? In this desert, we call the sky a star rash. We say we can sustain our bodies entirely on rock sugars and rock salts. A family history of cancer or osteoporosis? A river underground, I hear my marrow humming. Have you ever been hospitalized for a psychological condition? Now and then there is a gray day in the canyon. Walls know no noise. Sometimes you do sense molecules zinging past your eardrums. You will never see your family or friends again. Discuss. The brush of another person is more gravity than I can stand. Like a lantern's metal and paper, if you touch me, I may collapse. I have sworn off skin to skin, and not just during Lent. Inside a bubble, I prefer to drift at an arm's length. Would you be willing to participate in a strenuous 7-year training program? Someone smashed my rearview mirror. It never meant that much to me. If given 400 feet of wire fencing to enclose a sheep or goat pasture where grass is struggling, choose the shape that best provides the maximum area. Which of the following is most unlike the others? Please retype this message to prove you are not a robot. And which of the following most resembles your self-portrait? You can only choose one. I'm just going to read one more poem. This is the last poem in the book. It's kind of a prayer, and I think of it as a prayer for climate change in particular. Agnus Dei, Mars. Less than a light year ahead, this atmosphere swirls and thickens towards equilibrium. The first conifers pricking the air, dawn a blue yonder, the robin's egg. This world that would not move, this world that once looked plain and red as sealing wax, covers its face with grass, with a noise like breath blown into a bottle. Despite the warnings, I'll step out, unhindered by tank or mask, become too winded for words or even listening. I'll wander white blooms of greasewood, collapse at the mountain's foot. Our drifting, they say, is genetic in nature, a destiny hardwired in ourselves or the stars. But on Earth, as the story goes, my kin cried out for mercy, sheep down to skin and bone. Their planet had grown too warm without passion. Everyone had to make a choice. We live now without animals, don't know how or what to confess. We only know one prayer. Make this soul a clear high note. Make the dust devils weaken. Make my cells repair. Keep me from ultraviolet arrows. Let the air I hold be sweet. Once, in place of the canary, we sent out a trio of women. A 6-lung test, red flues open. The younger two crossed and lived, rushed back to tell the good news. And the old one, they call her a miracle. They say she went out singing. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Beth. That was great. I really love that new poem. Now I get to introduce an old friend and a poet whose work I have greatly admired for many years. Christopher Davis is the author of 4 collections of poetry: The Tyrant of the Past and the Slave of the Future, The Patriot, A History of the Only War, and most recently, Oath, published by Main Street Rag Press in 2020. His poems have appeared in many journals, including American Poetry Review, Denver Quarterly, Bennington Review, and Interim. A 1985 graduate of the Iowa Writers Workshop, he is a professor of creative writing at the University of North Carolina in Charlotte. Welcome, Christopher Davis.
Oh, thank you so much, Brad, for that generous introduction. It really means a lot. And thank you, Candace, for hosting this event. And thank you, T and Elizabeth, for reading such wonderful, interesting work. And thanks to all of you for being here at this wild, unsettled, difficult moment in our lives. I'm going to read 3 poems from my new collection. The first poem in the book, a poem that appears somewhere in the middle, and then the final poem. And each of these poems is an elegy for someone who has died. The first is about my mother, the second is about my father, and the third is for a friend who I think is portrayed in the poem as a kind of motherly father. So this first poem is called Examine Her Life. Her mother's kitchen stank like a barnyard. Embarrassed by her cud-chewing father, feeling unloved, she swore she'd be perfect. Married, she wrapped furniture in plastic. Exercising under her calendar, she flip-flopped up and down, a reeled-in trout. Eventually, once she proved doomed to fail, her husband getting calls from men all night, her menopause, her diabetes, chips, cheap wine, divorce, her youngest son stabbed to death. Her ideal broke. She breathed, she blinked, she watched the news, trapped in a wrecked, infested house she had designed herself for so much more. A victim's advocate, she pressured courts to grant parents of murdered children rights to ask the killers why, rage, mock, forgive. Her unself-consciousness became her grace. She saw she was simply alive, laughing, accusing, crying, mute, comprehending love, helping others feel before dying. This poem is called To Have a Choice. I balanced on the edge of what would be my father's deathbed, my body, 50, no, 3 million years old. His delicate, gray, desiccated face, his beady, twinkling eyes, blades. In that handsome head, he could do algebra. Favorite music, Stan Kenton, Busoni's transcriptions. Once he described hearing waves of sound at the Palladium. We'll never talk about it, I thought, why we both just masturbate with men and how. I'd hoped to relate to his history, tortured on a farm during the Dust Bowl, the Depression, and thereby understand, perhaps, not being open, honest, out, quoting, blaming all your fucking troubles on your wife, writing the family myth that she was crazy trash if she complained she wasn't getting any sex. He beat her meat black and blue, but he couldn't stop cruising observatory parking lots. Essentially, the doctor told, your dad's starving. An option is a feeding tube to his stomach. He sighed, no, I don't want a tube. I'm okay with what's happening. It's good to have a choice. Picture my poor mother riding spaceships, dehydrated, comatose, spilled across the kitchen floor. In Panama, in moonlight on a beach, he laughed, watching me trek into the dark, wet rainforest, chortling like a tree frog. Sunday morning, when the nurse called, I clung like my refrigerator magnet, Monet's water lilies, to a friend. A candle sunk in the black pool behind my closed eyelids. An orphan now, an only child, childless, worthless. I swear, people, poets worry. Bang, our planet's drying, drowning, dying. We're terrified of scarcity. To tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth. To the future, you, I guess. So help me. And this last poem is called Elegy for an Alcoholic Old Queen. Oh, my travel agent, you probably were just a situational acquaintance. Yet I felt sad as you died on a Wednesday on a crunchy, costly hospice room bed. Your collapsed cheeks, that fake bright bronze of tanning lotion. Your corny tresses, dyed blonde, ludicrously, defiantly, that very day, the day you passed away, snaking across the white, blubbery pillow. Your eyes flat, still, your mouth a hole you can't keep trying to fill now. I looked down at your clear plastic wristband and it told me you were when I'm 64, a little older than I'd guessed. Nobody needing you, nobody feeding you, except to my greedy shock, your brand new best friend, your bipolar hairdresser, your primary caregiver, your sole beneficiary. Grabbing your delicate wrist, a squirrel bouncing along the amber-leafed limb of whatever variety of tree that was out there, I told you I love you. Not. The ultimate Hello Dolly regular, you always drank half price, understanding being triple tipping. I was tripping when you told me, bluntly, you had months, well, weeks, to live. You wept. Your whole life you had felt crucified, renting from your Christian mother, unable to come out till she kicked off. Then you seized the day, enjoyed champagne like Churchill every evening. Old fashions, Manhattans, slow, comfortable screws against the wall. I bowed into your yellow Lacoste golf shirt, pushed my pounding head through the tough little crocodile right above your heart, toward your liver. My brain, a station wagon stuffed with screaming kids spinning wildly on river ice, cracking. At your memorial, the minister got the kind of cancer wrong, bemoaned the scourge of lymphoma, mentioned the tenets of our theology, though nobody there believed a word of it. No, not the air traffic controller, not the buyer's agent, and certainly not him, the man of cloth himself, who plastered pressures his friends for blowjobs. A disc jockey balanced a small green airplane gin bottle on the marble urn holding your ashes. I wonder whether in silvery dawns that emerald glows. Afterwards, stumbling among the cold gray cement materials of the parking deck, I couldn't find my Toyota Camry. So pressing the black button on our keychain, I made my baby honk, honk, his sobbing echoing incessantly, like the voice of that old witch inside the room across the hall from yours, barking, Becky, 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 until I saw them, the red brake lights blinking, and with my thumb, I pressed again, shut that fucking honking up. The penultimate sounds of your rough croak, your words. Can't do much about dying, fading from living memory, slowly. Thank you. Thanks.
Mm. Oh my God, Christopher, thank you for reading those poems. And that last one is one of my favorites out of that book. That is just incredible. We have time for some Q&A. So if any of our audience members have questions they would like to put in the Facebook chat or the StreamYard chat. And looks like Elizabeth Gross may have a question to get us started off.
Yeah, thanks everyone for those fantastic readings. First of all, I'm just wondering, basically every opportunity that I have to connect with other poets and writers, how's it going in terms of what you're working on right now, if you're working at all? All of our routines have been completely upended over the past year. So yeah, either like if there's a particular new project that anyone would like to talk about, but also if you have any comments about how writing is going during these circumstances. Yeah.
It's so frustrating. At the beginning of the lockdown, I thought, oh, great, I'm going to write. I'm going to finally read remembrance of things past. So much anxiety every day and uncertainty. And now that the election is over and we have a new, things are starting to look optimistic with new president, vaccines. Maybe it'll be a little easier to calm down and get some work done.
For me, I would say, so the first thing that happened in the pandemic is that my book tour was canceled for the most part. I got to do a couple of events and then everything, was canceled. And I just remember thinking like, oh my gosh, this can't be happening. But yeah, that was like such a small piece of what ended up becoming our new culture. Yeah, in terms of writing, it's kind of been, I think there have been times where I feel really desperate to do it. And I've been, I'll work really furiously for maybe like a month or two. And then, all the responsibilities kind of come crashing down. Also, I have no childcare anymore. So I'm sort of engaged in this other creative project, which is raising my toddler, which doesn't leave a lot of room for writing, but I'm thinking, which is an important part of the pre-writing process. So there's that.
Yeah, same. A lot of thinking. It hasn't stopped. It doesn't stop, and it won't stop. But it has been slower for me, for sure. Lots of distractions. I have cats now, so I just spend a lot of time with them. And we're talking about writing. We're thinking. We're meowing. It's great.
We're meowing. That's the
Yeah, I like to say that not writing is part of writing, but perhaps also meowing is part of writing. Tia's household.
It is.
Yeah, I can relate. I thought I was I thought I would have my next book manuscript done by now. But no. Yeah.
What's the story there?
Oh,
I'm putting you on
here
the
you ask
spot.
that. No, actually, I'm really working hard on the revisions for this one, and really trying to write my way deeper into some material that I felt like I'd only sort of skimmed in the earlier iteration of this manuscript, or the idea of this manuscript. So it's, it's good, but I'm like, it's good when I can concentrate on it. When I'm not distracted by, say, an insurrection, whatever else is thrown our way.
It's like right there.
I'm like, I know.
Just down the street, literally. Yeah.
Yeah.
Brad, did you say that the book you're working on is a continuation or a sequel to Parasite Kingdom?
That sequel is on the back burner back here, but it's not far from my mind. So no, this other book is the working title is Reconstructions, and it's partly family stuff, domestic stuff, and partly historical stuff about New Orleans and Louisiana.
Sounds great.
Intersections and all that. So, yeah.
So we have a question from the chat. Young wants to know, Tia, how working with adolescents. Oh, look, now it's on the screen. Here it is, in her own words, how working with adolescents informed the writing of that. You're writing in general and the writing of that story. I can't hear you, Tia.
Oh.
Oh no.
Uh-oh, Tia, are you muted?
Not muted.
Uh-oh. Oh dear. Let us know when you think of, try it out again, and then we'll let you come back.
Oh no.
I think that was
Tia has left.
Oh dear.
Oh no.
That story was so incredible.
Yes.
Great. Very vivid.
I wanted to ask you, Christopher, about working in Elegy. Is this something that you do often? I mean, it is one of the main lyric modes of, in the history of lyric poetry, but is it a mode that you work in often, or was it just for this book?
It just is it sort of comes naturally out of my life, actually, because I had a younger brother who died when I was young, and then I guess just sort of the sense of death being close, life and death and love all kind of mixed together. I don't think I even really thought of my poems consciously as being elegies as much as just kind of natural place for my poems to go and come from. Yeah. Thanks for asking.
Sure. Tia, you're back. Oh no.
Hmm.
Oh no.
Mhm.
We could vocalize Tia's answer.
Oh, it's good. Yeah, you could type your answer into the chat.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
I'd be happy to read it.
Can you hear
Oh
me?
yes.
Yeah, there we go. Great.
Or we could just try interpreting their body
Yes.
language.
Is my volume?
Yeah.
Yeah, we heard you for a second.
Whoops.
Mm. Oh no.
The joys of technical life.
Yeah.
Let's see.
There we go.
So it says the stories I've been working on are usually about adolescence, but adolescence of the time when I was that age.
Mm.
And I was really interested in like what draws you to a particular character that you want to write about. There were so many interesting things about Deja. Like she knows certain things. She is not completely aware of other things that she just hasn't experienced yet. She's in such an interesting place.
Mhm.
How about now?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Mhm. Hmm.
Oh no.
Mm. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
so sorry, Tia.
Mm.
That's all right.
Yeah.
We have you here. All right, awesome.
Pass.
Thanks. Yeah.
I think Candace said there was another question. No.
From Marie Lovejoy, can y'all talk more about the balance between thinking about what you'll write and actually writing? I feel myself pull between these two constantly, like I can't make progress unless I put some thought into what I need to make. But also the real discovery only comes when I force myself to sit down and start working, whether I feel inspired or not. I can relate.
Yeah. That's definitely true for me. Just sitting down and doing it without feeling necessarily inspired, but when I start and can focus and start bringing language together, something like inspiration can happen. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think for me it depends on the genre. So I also write essays, and I feel like the essay requires more premeditation for me. Like but I think partially because I know an essay is a huge time suck, right? like once you go down that path, I mean, that can be like months that you are spending on that. So I think I'm more likely to think about it for longer. But with a poem, I have to kind of write into some sort of strangeness that I don't understand. So the poem is more likely to surprise me in the process.
That's great.
Yeah, I think. And I think I go to the different genres for different reasons. Sometimes I want to be kind of in the dark a little bit.
That comes through so beautifully in your poems, that writing into a strangeness, that, it's wonderful.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, especially that project.
It's maybe an extreme example. People keep asking me, they're like, so you're going to, write another book that's kind of science fiction-y? And I'm like, no. I don't know where this came from. This was like a one and done situation.
Oh, well, Any of the poets, what is your favorite mode structure of poetry to write in?
Well, I'll say for this book, there's a, sorry, the camera is weird. There's a sonnet crown in every section of the book.
Right.
And I just think for me, and you know, the sonnet crowns, the sonnets are kind of smash sonnets. They don't have rhyme. And they're not really metered, but they do have a turn, and the ending and beginning of the sonnets works in the crown format. So I really like the sonnet crown because it's generative, right? Once you get to the end of one sonnet, you can begin the next. And there's a kind of cyclical nature to the sonnet crown, which I was really interested in for this particular project, which is very sort of cosmological in its feel. So I'm a big fan of crowns and also of sonnets in general.
I really love it when my poems kind of fall into a meter, and I didn't necessarily plan it that way, but I can just feel that evolving in the language. The first two poems I read are in iambic pentameter, you know, and it's just, I mean, I love reading Shakespeare. So when it comes to, you know, when I can start to hear that rhythm, and I just found that I'm able to sort of bring a poem to finish that way. But sometimes I've started out with a meter like that, but it's kind of happened naturally.
That's so interesting. Like when I read your book, Christopher, I was struck, as I always am with your work, by how formal it really is, and just the intense attention to all of the sound patterns and the rhythm. But it's so amazing hearing you read it, and it sounds, it's, you know, it sounds so natural, you know. So it's an amazing thing that you're able to do there.
Thank you. Yeah.
We are actually a couple of minutes past our hour, and I wish we could go on for much longer. I wish we were all together in New Orleans, and hopefully one day we will be. Thank you all in our audience who came.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you to our readers. Thank you to Mariah Moore from House of Tulip. Thank you again to Candace and to Poets and Writers, Inc.
And you can follow The Waves on Twitter and Facebook, where we have some other events in the works for this year. And yeah, thank you so much. And although I can't wait for us to be together in New Orleans again, I'm also grateful for this opportunity to connect with writers and poets who are not in New Orleans.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much.